día. Buenos días. Good morning. Buongiorno. Pues un año más.
Once again, another year, we're here, but this year is back to normality of MedaWeek in person, we hope. We're streaming this live to all Mediterranean countries and all countries that are joining us today, and we'd like to welcome them online as well. Today, firstly, I'd like to thank the authorities that are here today in this opening session, the President of ASCAME, Mr. Amrakarel, the General Secretary of the Union for the Mediterranean, Mr. Florenza, President of EMED, Pera Navarro, Special State Delegate of the Consortium of Zona Franca, also Comunes, of the Barcelona City Council, the Executive Delegate of ACCIO, and above all our partner, the Chamber of Commerce, which is represented today by Mr. Marin Oriol from the International Department. I would also like to warmly welcome all of you and institutions who are joining us, particularly our friends who've come from delegations from different Mediterranean countries via our network of chambers of commerce, particularly the delegations from Egypt, Morocco, Lebanon, Croatia, Italy, among others. And throughout these 3 days, they will be participating in the more than 15 events that we will organise, plus some new events here at the Mediterranean Centre. Welcome to this journey through the Mediterranean. Due to its economies and opportunities, challenges, reflections. Once again, MedaWeek Barcelona is a sign of hope in these difficult times, and Barcelona confirms itself as the economic capital of the Mediterranean. Despite the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, the financial, social and health crisis, in the Mediterranean we see developing other trends, moving in a more positive direction. In many countries, there are initiatives that are trying to present scenarios beyond the pessimism that we see so often in the media. There are new initiatives. Women and young people are taking on leadership roles at an economic level more and more. I'd also like to thank all of the speakers, participants, for sharing their ideas, their experiences, their contribution to present opportunities that we see across this sea of 3 continents. They are the sign of determination to achieve our shared objective, the social economic development of the Mediterranean. I would also like to highlight that the MedaWeek organisation is and has been a real challenge across these 16 years that we've been in existence. And MedaWeek is a great example of integration and synergies across different organisations and teamwork that drives the business capacity and the public-private partnerships in the Mediterranean. MedaWeek Barcelona is now a major date on the agenda in the Mediterranean. It's a multi-event, multi-sector event with global projection across the years. We have had more than 40 Mediterranean and international organisations who have joined us as collaborators More than 40,000 business people have participated from 43 countries, not just from the Mediterranean, but from Africa, Asia, Europe, and from the Gulf. This has enabled us to grow across these years. MedaWeek is a real meeting point. It brings together the main economic agents and provides the key factors to drive the future growth of the Mediterranean. We must not forget that these unprecedented challenges, we now need this economic cooperation more than ever. MedaWeek can release the potential of the region for prosperity, security, and a sustainable future. We can contribute to a positive change on a global level. MedaWeek is a platform that incites you to invest in the Mediterranean with key pillars like equality in an unequal world, balancing success with sustainability, with the increase of the geoeconomy, digital transformation, education, and sustainability. We must not forget that the major energy that we have here in the Mediterranean are the people, the young people, the women, and they are our human capital. It's a huge potential to build our region. The DNA of the Mediterranean is rebellious, creative, inventive, curious. It's synonymous with innovation. It's allowed us to overcome many crises, continuously reinvent ourselves to hope for and to offer an ambitious future which allows us to grow. Because in no place like the Mediterranean do we write the future. We see paths crossing, opportunities crossing, and talent crossing. In no place like the Mediterranean do we see challenges and the major questions of our times finding answers. In no place like the Mediterranean do we see the experience, progress, and capacity to take on any challenge and any potential contradiction and turn that into an opportunity. The world is going through change that we've never seen in the history of mankind. We are facing 4 transitions that will transform us. One transition, which is an energy transition from fossil to renewal, a technological transition from physical to digital, economic transition from west to east, and a demographic transition from aging populations to young populations. And now this is the time to look back at the Mediterranean, to think, exchange, collaborate, and act. It's a time to understand that the major change comes from satisfying unsatisfied needs, empowering people to drive change. Change that we want to create, to shape the future of the Mediterranean economy on a global level. It's time to rethink the relationship between the European Union and the Mediterranean and drive forward a shared project which can compete on a global level across huge geographic areas and economic challenges. It's the time of a green digital economy. It's about ideas, knowledge, sharing across West and East via the Mediterranean. It's a time to create opportunities, associations, alliances, despite unprecedented threats. It's a time of closing the digital gap, digitization, find new ways of together approaching problems. It's now time to harness creativity and the potential of young people and women and invest in them because we're investing in the future. It's time for the Mediterranean to continue to attract millions of tourists, but also stop being a cemetery for those who want to look for a better life. It's time to discover new paths so that Mediterranean investors and global investors reduce the financial gap and create solution for the real world. It's time to implement sustainable and integral opportunities and solutions. It's about investing in the Mediterranean, and let's not forget that 3 billion people cannot have a healthy diet. We must work hard. It's about investing in the creative, sports economy, art and cultures, because art, cultures and sports makes us more human. It's time for the Mediterranean to become the key place that provides solutions to the problems of the global supply chain. It's time to learn, manage crises, and not be managed by the crises. It's time for the Mediterranean to look at the global outlook. It's time to overcome challenges, create wealth, contribute to the common good, create a social fabric that is sustainable and respectable for human dignity. And this is why we have said that this year is the moment as a slogan. So thank you. We hope that throughout these 3 days, we can create this ecosystem that allows business people to do business, create alliances, not just between Mediterranean companies, but also between them and the rest of the world. Without further ado, I would like to hand over to Mr. Wakil, President of ASCAME.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Partners, Excellencies, friends, ladies and gentlemen. As the President of ASCAME, it is a great pleasure to welcome you all and to thank you for participation in this annual meeting of the Mediterranean economy and to inaugurate the 16th edition of the Mediterranean Week of Economic Leaders. This new edition of MedaWeek coincides with the 14th anniversary of the creation of ASCAME, which began a journey in Barcelona in October 1982 and had a great success story in promoting North-South cooperation. It is thanks to the work of 40 years that ASCAME has managed to consolidate itself as an entity that represents the interest of the Mediterranean private sectors. This consolidation is nothing more than a step in the ASCAME mission, which every day has new challenges, considering the reality of the region. We are facing interesting and challenging times without a doubt. The speed of change will be faster than we expected. The world was getting smaller, and we thought that globalization was the destiny of humanity, and that treaties and agreements had brought nations closer together. Now that certainty is being tested. The scientific, economic, social, and technical advances achieved during the last decade surpass those achieved in a 100 years. The achievement of the last 2 years further exceeds those of the last decade, and the future pace will be even faster. This stage is existing. The diversity of our region should be a great catalyst for growth and integration for the economy. The creation of new companies and internationalization, Mediterranean talent without borders creates value. An inclusive and adaptable style that cultivates the ability to bring out the best in a mixed environment. At this key moment, Mediterranean and global cooperation is even more necessary because we are facing a global crisis that is still avoidable. MedaWeek Barcelona once again commits to Mediterranean economic integration. The region is no longer just an opportunity for European companies, but a necessity. We want to highlight the need to commit to a more inclusive Mediterranean policy in which youth, women, mobility, energy, climate change, and academic exchanges are discussed. The future of the Europe will be played out in the south. The destiny of Europe and Africa is linked. The Mediterranean is naturally space of this axis, a new axis for the future with more than 1,800 billion inhabitants. It is crucial to consolidate the regional economy and strengthen its inclusion in the world economy to facilitate the transformation of the region. Future relations between the two shores are based to a significant degree on the ability of private sector companies to increase investment flows of goods produced and marketed. Developing infrastructure, especially digital, is a way of stimulating indirectly the entrepreneurial spirit by facilitating the creation process of SMEs, in addition to improving governance models with greater transparency and traceability. International companies must consider the region not as a consumer market or a source of raw materials, but also as a region that creates value. Climate change and water scarcity will amplify the impact of the different conflicts, generating new challenges. The expected growth in the coming years of tourism, maritime traffic, aquaculture, or the surge of hydrocarbons requires measures to order these uses and achieve the sustainability of its enormous wealth. The Mediterranean region must and can make better use for logistics as a lever for its economic and ecological development. Regionalization emerges as a huge source of opportunities. It may be time to rethink the relationship between the EU and the Mediterranean, and jointly promote a project capable of competing globally. The Mediterranean region could become a thriving north-south production frontier since its geographical location makes it possible to shorten logistic circuits between the EU and Africa and reduce the carbon footprint. It is a historic opportunity that cannot be missed. ASCAME has been a pioneer in launching a comprehensive strategy post-COVID-19 that is committed to combine the urgency of a reactivation to avoid economic and finalize suffocation, with the need to lay the foundation for a new development. To lay the foundation for a new development model based on promoting the digital, green, and blue ones, committing to the sustainability of the tourism, agriculture, textile, automotive, and logistics sectors, reaching SMEs and promoting the entrepreneurial spirit of young and female entrepreneurs. The coming historical change involves implementing and ambitious programs that supports the integration of economies. Challenges demand the son of commits the all must have. And over the coming 3 days, we shall all debate all this. Then we have to walk the talk and embark on create action for the benefit of our Euro-Mediterranean business community. Last but not least, before thanking you all for being with us today, I have to thank Barcelona Chamber for 40 years of support to ASCAME and our competent secretariat led by our coordinator, Mr. Anwar Zibawi, who made MedaWeek the success it is for 16 years. Thank you all.
Thank you, President Ahmed Wakil. Y ahora
Now, the other co-organizer of MedaWeek, the representative of the Chamber of Commerce of Barcelona, Mr. Marín Oriol, from the director of the international area of the Chamber of Commerce of Barcelona.
Gracias, Anwar.
Thank you, Anwar.
I would like to apologize to you on behalf of the President of Barcelona Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Monica Roca, as well Vice President of ASCAME, for in such, well, that today that is not possible to join us, but he has promised me that she will join us tonight and as well tomorrow. So thank you, Mr. Ahmed El Wakil, President of the Association of the Chambers of Commerce of the Mediterranean, ASCAME. Thank you, Mr. Nasser Kamel, General Secretary of the Union for the Mediterranean, authorities, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to La Llotja de Mar, welcome to Barcelona. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to everyone present here today. It is such great honor for the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce to hold this event. It's a real pleasure to welcome everyone to the Mediterranean Week of Economic Leaders, MedaWeek. This year, this big meeting focuses on digital economy and innovation. Unfortunately, It is true that we are in a very complicated context. War in Ukraine, already mentioned this morning, disruption supply, inflation, and international relations becoming chaotic, unpredictable, and full of uncertainty. The global geopolitical balance is changing, and for that reason, the Mediterranean region must be prepared to take the key role in the new global strategic order. Barcelona, as the core of the Mediterranean region and ASCAME, has already claimed its role as a technology hub of reference in Europe. Also, the latest studies show that it is the most promising city for emerging technology companies and the fifth most attractive for investment in technology projects. So, one more year, Barcelona demonstrates the decisive role that has an economic capital and bridge between the Mediterranean ports. These 3 days will be full of intensive debates and conferences to encourage the Mediterranean region to become a strong actor in the global market. As I said before, Barcelona and the other Mediterranean cities have all the elements to be potential decision makers of this 21st century economy. Infrastructure, prime material, good weather and location in the map. This meeting will serve to generate synergies, partnerships, to present initiatives and business projects, and at the same time, to look towards the future of the Mediterranean region based on sustainability, innovation, and internationalization. It may be time to rethink the relationship between the European Union and the Mediterranean to promote a project capable of competing in a world that is increasingly interconnected and focused on large regional areas or giant economic unions. Global value chains are shrinking to regional chains. In this context, the Mediterranean region could become a thriving north-south production frontier in integration with the European Union is intensified. The Mediterranean region is one of the world's busiest merchandise trade hubs. For that reason, we have to work together to show the world the compromise of our companies with the global goals, such as innovation, digital economy, sustainability, and social justice. To shift that, we should work to change the reality of our neighboring countries that are suffering social injustices for has less digital empowerment. Working on that, we will succeed in building a region that is economically solid, competitive, fair, and resilient. Another year, this meeting proves that the potential of the Mediterranean region to attract companies and investors is there. The relations between the countries of the Mediterranean region will help to consolidate and accelerate the process of developing emerging economies. At the same time, will strengthen the Mediterranean project and make it more attractive to new investments. By joining forces, the Mediterranean region has a lot to gain: new markets and consumers, where there is potential for growth. If we decide to open the borders and strengthen the union of the markets, according to the internal research, the Mediterranean could increase its GDP by 30% in the 10 years' time. It seems that times are changing. Recession and climate change leads the debates today. For that, no more than ever, we must bet on the Mediterranean countries. Thank you all for for all, and let's enjoy this Mediterranean week of economic leaders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Marin Oriols. And now, Mr. Nasser Kamel, General Secretary of the Union for the Mediterranean.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'll start by thanking my very dear friend Ahmed Al-Wakil, the president of ASCAME, and Anwar Zibawi, the dynamo of ASCAME, the general coordinator, of course, and so many friends present here today, Sinan Florenza, and so many familiar faces from Egypt and from all over the Mediterranean. I'm very pleased, actually, to be with you here in this 16th edition of the MedaWeek in Barcelona. Especially, this is the year where we celebrated, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, but we celebrated 40 years of ASCAME in Alexandria. This Barcelona-Alexandria link is extremely important. The MedaWeek has become actually a fixture on the regional agenda, I have to say, and has seen an expanding scale and scope, adapting to the growing economic complexity and sophistication of our region. Just going through the agenda of this year, MedaWeek, one can immediately see the extent to which we all converge on areas and thematics that we believe hold the key for future human and sustainable development, as well all strive to build back better, as we say. I see youth and entrepreneurship. I see digital and creative economy, green transition, energy and food security. These are all priority areas of action for all of us. So let me take a few moments to share with you some of our activity, or what I say UFM updates in this regards. Starting with building economic resilience, last July we celebrated the successful closure of our first UFM grant scheme for employment promotion, which we launched with the focus on job creation for young people and women, especially MSMEs, supporting them and encouraging entrepreneurship. This grant scheme has benefited tens of thousands of young men and women in the Mediterranean. Earlier this year, we at UFM organized the Ministry of Employment, where we launched, with the help of the German Development Cooperation, a UFM, a Union for Mediterranean hub for job, trade, and investment, with a budget of over 11 million euros, whose objective is to strengthen regional cooperation in the area of employment, trade, and investment, in particular through moderating dialogue and providing impetus to policy making as a knowledge resource to UFM member states. This hub is perfectly aligned with the Team Europe initiative that I guess you are all familiar with, on job through trade and investment for the southern neighborhood, which attests to the convergence of vision and efforts. And I truly believe that with this tool, we could cooperate further together in the field of encouraging investment and encouraging regionalization of investment in the Mediterranean. Talking about climate change, which is one of the most pressing, as you mentioned, an existential challenge our region is facing. You all know that the Mediterranean is warming 20% faster than the rest of the world. This month, or actually less than 10 days ago, the COP27 hosted the first ever Mediterranean Pavilion led by the UFM. It's an initiative that we launched and gathered a large coalition, especially United Nations Environmental Programme and the Prima Foundation. What we did in Sharm el-Sheikh is to both highlight the urgent challenges the region is currently facing, but also the innovative climate and energy solution already being developed throughout the Mediterranean climate. The number of deals that were signed in Sharm el-Sheikh on the green hydrogen and ammonia exceeds $150 billion for the next 10 years. This is which pointing that the Southern Mediterranean could be not only a regional hub, but actually a major source of renewable energy, and especially of green hydrogen to supply Europe and the rest of the world. This is a welcome development. So climate action and just transition was at the heart of our activity in Sharm el-Sheikh, and the dialogue will continue over the next month to see how the UFM can advance this agenda on the regional level. On the digitalization and creativity fronts, we are preparing for an important conference on digital transformation next year, the details of which we'll make available to all of you very soon. We will also organize another edition of the Creative Forum, because I'm a true believer that creative industry has a huge room to grow in our region and can be a source of growth in both shores of the Mediterranean. And this actually Creative Forum that we started 4 years ago has become the main regional meeting point for creative hubs and actors from around the region. We'll let you know also, because you might want to encourage your members to attend. I do not really wish to share an exhaustive list, but just to give you a feel of what we have been doing in the face of disruptions, COVID, the war in Ukraine, and to let you know what we intend to deliver in the immediate future, so we can enhance our mandate using our classical 3 Ps, as we call it in the UFM, which is dialogue platform, the policy platform, and of course projects. And we added to that another very important 2 Ps, which is people and partnerships. This captured the essence of our approach that coincide and fit perfectly with what ASCAME is trying to achieve. And with that, I will end my intervention by wishing you a very successful meeting and assuring you of the UFM support in all your activity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nasser Kamel. Now, Mr. Senem Florenza, Presidente Ejecutivo del Instituto Europeo de la Mediterránea.
So, dear President of the ASCAME, dear Secretary General of the Union for the Mediterranean, dear representatives of the Chamber of Commerce and other institutions, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it's really a pleasure to be with you once again in this MedaWeek, in this splendid house of the Chamber of Commerce of Barcelona. It is a pleasure to be with you on the occasion of the 16th edition of the MedaWeek Barcelona, the Week of Economic Leaders in the Mediterranean, and the 19th edition of the North African Business Development Forum. So we are proud to have been together with ASCAME and the Chamber of Commerce of Barcelona and the other institutions all around these 19 years organizing these events, which have proved fruitful in many respects. Because the Union for the Mediterranean, I've been paying close attention to the words of its Secretary General. I think that really you are fulfilling what was envisioned many years back, what should be an institution to foster integration in the Euro-Mediterranean area and providing some guidance through the UFM ministerials and its platforms and for what should be a good and sound Euro-Mediterranean policy conducted by all partners, the European Union with its neighborhood policy, or by governments south and north of the Mediterranean. As it is for the Chambers of Commerce, I think they have a key role as well to guide public and private actors in times of crisis, in times of uncertainty. And unfortunately, we do have today a lot of uncertainty, an accumulation of crisis. We went through a severe financial crisis, an economic crisis starting in 2008. It was a hard and damaging experience. We learned some tough lessons. But finally, we succeeded in stabilizing the economies at the global, regional, and national levels, which led us, I would say, to kind of a virtuous situation of low inflation and low interest rates in most countries, including in the Mediterranean. Despite the divide that persists, the gap existing between North and South, and I would say mainly between exporters and importers of oil and gas and energy products. But then, when we were going out of this, with this of the crisis, with this virtuous situation, we went into a strange world with the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. As strange as it might have seemed before, we had to literally stop the world, confining the whole population in their houses except for a few essential services, as hospitals, pharmacies, or supermarkets. We paid an enormous toll in terms of human life and economic activity. With the lessons learned in the previous crisis, we were overcoming that difficult and painful proof when we have been hit by the terrible invasion and war in Ukraine, with its political, economic, and social consequences. We thought really that with the two world wars, with its incredible level of destruction and suffering, with origin and epicenter in Europe, Europeans would have had enough. But the ugly and terrifying face of war is showing again up in Europe. The Ukrainians are suffering the most, but its effects are damaging the entire world, and especially, I would say, the Mediterranean countries. The grain shortage and the energy crisis are hitting hard importing countries. Governments have had to resort to budgetary policies to support the firms and its citizens in need, incurring in this way in huge debts and damaging, in many cases, the macroeconomic stability. We have gone from a world of low inflation and low interest rates into a world of high inflation and rising interest rates. Even worse, adding to that picture, a lowering trend in income and production growth. At the same time, new challenges are added to the international agenda, both in the industrial sector as in the rest of the economy. Climate change asks for a green transition and represent, along with the change in the energy model or the increasing, pressing challenge to impose the digital revolution across all sectors. So a new agenda is appearing as urgent to take measures in all the world. And as the Secretary General of the UFM was saying just now, well, we know the direction we should go. It has been said again clear and aloud in Sharm el-Sheikh, but we need the impulse really from governments and institutions, private and public, to go in that direction. So in this endeavor, the UFM and the Chambers of Commerce have a role to play. As we said before, they have and continue to be a beacon to shed light in the to showing the way to go. Especially, as I was mentioning, the UFM ministerials and the UFM fora have been providing guidance and accompaniment to both public and private institutions of the Euro-Mediterranean countries. The Mediterranean countries are especially hit by this cumulative crisis, as we have seen, that we are going through. This is why I think this MedaWeek is extremely useful and timely. And this is why I am especially grateful to ASCAME and to the Chamber of Commerce of Barcelona for hosting it. And of course, to all of you for your participation and interest. And so I wish you all a fruitful and interesting Mediterranean Week of Economic Leaders. And I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Florenza. Y ahora el señor Pera Navarro.
Now we will hear from Pera Navarro, Special State Delegate, President of the Consortium of the Zona Franca. I'd also like to thank the Consortium for their support of MedaWeek.
Bé, molt bon dia.
Good morning, friends. President of ASCAME, authorities. Firstly, I'd like to express two messages of hope. We've spoken about chambers, but now we're actually speaking about people, and two people who are present here in this room. The most rewarding is the contact with people, physical contact with people, so it's nice to see each other here. My second message is my hope and thanks to ASCAME. Over these years, we have forged alliances that are related to the institutions we represent, so ASCAME and the Consortium of the Zona Franca of Barcelona, but also personal friendships, because alliances, agreements, progress, it all comes because people reach an agreement. And in this case, this MedaWeek event is being held at a time, and we see here that the time is now, that is our slogan. It's a very critical time. Throughout the history of mankind, well, there's always been critical moments. In 1835, the workers of a factory in Barcelona burned down the factory, Bona Plata, the factory, because there were steam machines that arrived and they believed that that was a threat for their jobs. We're talking about 1835. This was also a time of great uncertainty. So what does the Consortium of Zona Franca Barcelona do? We try to turn that uncertainty into something that can be an opportunity. We promote the economy. We know that the appearance of new technologies, the fourth digital era, this new way of working and of building relationships is bringing about very important change, and far faster than in the whole history of mankind. But we don't want to be regretting the negative aspect of these changes, but rather, as a public institution that we are, we want to find solutions and we want to find a way to adapt to these changes. And one example, we're going to sign an agreement. I don't think it's a secret, I hope. We're going to sign an agreement with ASCAME to promote and to project something. We've built a building. It's a unique building in terms of its architecture, but the most important point of this 17,000 square meter building with huge investment, it's not about the building, but rather it's about what's going to happen inside that building. So what happens inside that building? What happens is there are companies that are using technology of the new digital era to offer new jobs. We're talking about robotics, sensors, artificial intelligence. We're talking about the Internet of Things, 3D printing, and other technologies. And all these, well, 30 companies right now, but more will join. These 30 companies working in this building, they're not doing this only individually. the most important point is they're beginning to collaborate. They're building projects together. And this also means that we will see new opportunities. And if we didn't commit to this specific place to bring them together, those opportunities would not appear. And this is what the consortium of Zona Franca is doing. What we want to do, or what we are doing every day, is we want things to happen. It's great to know our direction, it's great to have strategic plans, but it's also true, well, before the pandemic, we were affected for 2 years. Nobody could have imagined the extent of the pandemic and how quickly and significantly it affected mankind. But it appeared some people were able to adapt, some were not able to adapt. We committed to adapting. We committed to see what new opportunities we'd have in these new times. But we don't do this alone, thinking just about the city of Barcelona or Catalonia or just Spain. We do this, and for a long time now, thinking about the international dimension. We have links with America, particularly Latin America, and we want to have more links with the world of the Mediterranean. It's essential for us. The worst thing you can do is close yourself in on your small space or believe you're the center of the universe. We have to open ourselves up. We need to promote the economy. The economy is how we generate wealth, and the capacity that we must have to turn this wealth into distributed wealth to the most needing sectors. The Mediterranean has seen great civilizations be born. We've seen great empires as well. But empires across the centuries were created violently by conquest. The more powerful would conquest territories. And here we have an empire, but it's a far more powerful empire. It's not based on conquest, it's based on relationships, agreements between institutions who speak different languages, have different religions, but have something in common. It's the Mediterranean. And represented here today by ASCAME. So I think that if we base this on economic projection, new technologies, new industry, generating wealth and solidarity, I think what we must do, and this is a challenge and an obligation that we all have, it's also our vocation, we must show the example to 8 billion people, I think, who are now living on Earth since yesterday, 8 billion people, many cultures, many civilizations, many problems as well. But from the Mediterranean, what we must do and what we want to do is create opportunities and hope for these 8 billion people. And this can be a very good example. Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Thank you, Pera Navarro. I'm sure that the factory is going to be a great success, and I hope it will be an opportunity for the whole of the Mediterranean. And now we will hear from Pau Solanilla, friend and commissioner of promoting economy from the Barcelona City Council.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Welcome to Barcelona.
I will speak in English because I will make it shorter as has been a long session. On behalf of the City of Barcelona, I would like to welcome all of you. As Mr. Pera Navarro said, it is a pleasure to be in person to meet many people. And I would like to share with you 5 main ideas, because I'm representing a city that is not only the capital of the Mediterranean, it's an activist Mediterranean city. We believe in the Mediterranean, and also personally, I'm a Mediterranean activist. In fact, I've been the sixth, I was in the first edition. I was working with my dear Senem Florenza and the European Institute of the Mediterranean. I've been a speaker, moderator, assistant, and now representing the city of Barcelona. So for me, this is a kind of familiar place. Huh? I'm among friends. So 5 comments that I think that will shake a little bit the debate. We are in an economic conference, and the first idea is very clear. To be open is a good business. The region is a closed region. And to be open is a good business. Barcelona is what it is because it's an open and diverse city. We have embraced diversity as an economic tool also, not only, but as an economic tool. When the Olympic Games took place in 1992, Barcelona had 2-3% of foreigners. Today, we are 29% of the population living in Barcelona have an international passport, were born abroad. So to be open is a good business, is a good investment. I think this is the first lesson. The second message, we have to be less declarative and we need more action. We need to deliver. We need quick wins to make it visible that the cooperation is the cooperation is a good investment. The factory could be one example. We need to assure that things take place. So we need a sense of urgency and we need quick wins. The big investments to be inserted in the global value chains is fundamental for the region. But we need to go back to the small economy, to the economy of the people. So quick wins. The third one is that we need a new economic model. The obsession of control, the top-down economic strategies does not work anymore. Does not work anymore. The obsession of the states to control the economies does not work anymore. In today's world, there are more than 100 territories, 100 cities, what we call new global cities. New territories are the ones where innovation and economic growth is taking place. This is about connecting the dots. And in the Mediterranean, we have different centers, different dots. We need to connect the dots. We need to be clever enough to connect the dots in a decentralized way, with autonomy, with a coherent strategy. And the region needs a smart specialization. And I think that this conference is about that. It's a smart specialization. We cannot be the best in the world in everything, but we need to be, if not the best, one of the best in certain areas, and we need to boost these areas. I think this conference is about. We need, the fourth comment is, we need to identify what is urgent, but what is also important. Obviously, we are in an energetic crisis, we are in a security crisis, we have wars. These urgencies need to be addressed, need to be tackled. But there are important things that needs to be also thought and attacked. One of them is mobility. A smart mobility of the region. If I was saying at the beginning, we are a closed region, is linked to mobility. If we do not have mobility among professionals, among talent, etc., about women, youth, students, we cannot make it raise talent. And this region is full of talent, and we need to address the mobility issue. We need a smart mobility. It's a complex dossier. We need to address migration. Europe needs, or Spain, just Spain needs 240,000 new economic migrants every year to keep our economic growth. We will need 7 million migrants until 2050. Europe will need 70 million new economic migrants until 2050. It's not possible that people die in the Mediterranean when we need that number of people. We need to build up the bridges to make it possible that these people come in a legal way that help us in our economic growth, and they also can gain their life decently and help their families and their countries. And finally, to make it short, this is about innovation. Economic growth is about, and progress is about innovation. We cannot have different results doing the same. We need a new governance. We need to do things in a different way. Otherwise, we will be stuck as we are. And this is Innovation, as Anglo-Saxon says, are in the fringe, in the margins, and the decisions are taken in the center of powers. We need bridges between the fringe and the centers. We need to bring innovation into our decision making. And probably the lesson of today's war is that does not win the strongest one anymore. Those who will win are the ones able to build up new alliances, new coalitions, the more smart coalitions. And I think that Mediterranean should be a smart coalition, and I ask you to work for that. Thank you very much, and Barcelona will be always available for you.
Thank you, Pau. Y ahora al señor.
Now we will hear from João Romero, the General Director of Acció from the Catalan government.
Moltes gràcies.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone.
And government, it's a real pleasure to take part of this inaugural session of the MedaWeek, which this year holds the 16th edition. I would like to start my speech welcoming to Catalonia to all the Mediterranean leaders who are participating today in this unique event, which brings the opportunity to change point of view and strengthen the cooperation within the region. I would also like to thank ASCAME for their invitation to participate to this new edition and congratulate them for their 14th anniversary. I want to highlight that MedaWeek has consolidated itself as one of the most relevant economic conferences promoting the Mediterranean region worldwide. It's a dynamic platform for promoting alliances and advancing regional economic integration. It addresses key aspects for the economic development for the Mediterranean region. Having said that, and as all the speakers has been mentioned, we are facing many challenges. I will say it more than ever. Some are old, some are new. So we are talking about climate change, geopolitical issues, energy, inflation, migration, technological disruptions. There are a lot of risks, but also opportunities to grow together from a Mediterranean point of view. We want a sustainable Mediterranean economy. And when we talk about a sustainable Mediterranean economy, we do it from 3 different points of view. The social point of view, we have to reduce the gaps, and we have to have a joint growth together, a win-win relation. The economic point of view and the climate point of view. 3 different issues that we have to tackle. And I will say very quickly, because as we mentioned, the time is now. There's a word that I really like, that it's latency. The time that we try to give an answer, it's a problem for our societies. So we need to be very quick giving answer to the challenges that we face. And of course, innovation is a good solution. So we have a big opportunity with the different technologies that we have nowadays, emerging technologies, the possibility of disruptions. But innovation nowadays, it's not done in everyone's house. Innovation is done at an open level. So we talk about open innovation, we talk about the relation between companies from the north, companies from the south, technological centers, and the collaboration and cooperation is very important. So we strongly believe that the cooperation is a way to improve our societies. Barcelona and Catalonia have been long committed to the Mediterranean area. So Barcelona and Catalonia has been always a commercial country, a trading country. And we know that we are very small. For instance, Catalonia is only 7% of the territory of Spain. But we are a motor in the south of Europe. And we want to be an actor, a relevant actor, in the whole of the Mediterranean. We strongly believe that the cooperation between the northern and southern part of the Mediterranean is the right way to promote our economy. For instance, some figures that I think that are interesting, because over the last few years, the Catalan companies have increased their commercial presence in North Africa, and in the recent years, we have also been growing in other parts of the Mediterranean. Some interesting figures that can be highlighted are that we have around 350 subsidiaries of Catalan companies in Northern Africa, and, which is more interesting, we have 30 companies from Africa in Catalonia. So the relations are increasing. Maybe we don't achieve the results that we want to achieve, but it's a starting point. For instance, if we look at the Catalan imports from Northern Africa, they have also grown by almost 15% the last decade. So it shows figures that we can do the things, we can improve. And the Catalan government is completely committed to that. So we have different plans from a government point of view that tackle the relation within the Mediterranean as a key question for us. And my own organization, Acció, the business development agency of the Catalan government, for us, it's very important, this relation. We have 40 offices abroad, and we are increasing the presence in the northern part of Africa. So now we have 4 offices over there, and we want to increase our presence. We think that it's important. But not only having presence over there, the relation between multilateral entities, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, it's very important for us. The relation also with Brussels, the European Union, is a strong way to do it. And one thing that it's important, having any opportunity, every opportunity that we have to strengthen this relation. For instance, we participate in a network that is called ANIMA, that tries to strengthen the economic cooperation between Europe, Middle East, and Africa. In short, the collaboration and the relationships between Catalonia and the Mediterranean region are very consolidated. From Acció, we are committed to the challenge of advancing in the economic cooperation, and this is why we promote different initiatives, as I have explained. I'm sure that this edition of the MedaWeek will help to strengthen even more these relations between our countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Bueno, no siempre funciona.
Well, digital doesn't always work. We're having difficulties connecting to Sharm el-Sheikh, to the ministry in Egypt. It must be their connection that they have, and we're just not managing to connect with them. We had planned to have an online intervention from them, but the Secretary of State of Egypt from the Ministry of Commerce will be participating in the New Africa Forum, which will be held in a couple of minutes. So from ASCAME, and on the occasion of our 40th anniversary, we thought that, well, we have a role to play, an important role, not just with our members and our 150,000 companies that we represent across 23 countries, the chambers of commerce and the representation that we have in more than 200 cities. We have a role because we're in 3 continents. We are in Europe, Africa, and Asia. And on the occasion of the 40th anniversary, we have made a declaration. It's important for us because it's going to be the roadmap which the future chambers of commerce, or the chambers of commerce, their future, the private sector, is where we need to head. Which sectors do we need to focus on, and how do we need to help companies and recover our initial role when the first International Chamber of Commerce was founded, and the founders called them Mercaderes de la Paz. From this lens, we have designed a declaration which has been signed by the following organizations: ASCAME, representing the Mediterranean, the Union of Arab Chambers, which brings together all chambers of commerce in the world, the African Chambers of Commerce, Euroshab from Europe, Islamic Chamber of Commerce of all Muslim countries in the world, and the support from the World Chamber Federation. This document will serve as a base for the next Congress, which will be held in Geneva for the International Chamber of Commerce. And to try to summarize what's in this document, Mr. Alvarez from the Union of African Chambers of Commerce will take over.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great honor to speak on behalf of the key regional organizations representing the private sector, and an abstract from the declaration signed by all organizations, entitled A Future in Common. The entire private sector, and especially its intermediary institutions such as Chamber of Commerce and employers' organizations, are deeply concerned about the social, economic, political consequences of the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. It's a huge, unexpected, and tragic shock to the social welfare and economic activities worldwide. The climate crisis has become more pressing than ever, and threats to the international trade and global cooperation still persist. Collaboration and open constructive dialogue are necessary to ensure the success and prosperity of the future generations, where COP27 is a key milestone in that regards. For centuries, chambers of commerce have been a key driver in the development of millions of companies and have worked with governments hand in hand and institutions to find solutions to local, regional, and global challenges to support the private sector. Due to their international and supra-sectorial nature, they have the advantage of speaking with authority that comes from companies in all sectors and all ways of life from all parts of the world. They are key actors as institutions in charge of promoting economic activity and promoting business cooperation and investment, which transforms them into agents of cohesion and peace. However, they need the cooperation and participation of all actors in society and the public powers. Internationalization and globalization are the new challenges, but so is regionalization of sectors that benefit from geographic proximity and economic complementarity. Chambers must not only protect the interests of their members, but their work must benefit the national and the world economy as a whole. Therefore, promote the Sustainable Development Goals and help guarantee global peace and prosperity by promoting a more open and inclusive international trade system and creating a sustainable mechanism that measures and evaluates the needs, aspirations, and challenges of the companies and its environment, especially SMEs. Today, companies operate in a new, volatile technological business environment where innovation and adaptation are key. Chambers should be in a position to assist and seize such opportunities and unite synergies that aid development and economic prosperity. The challenges is to continue being a reference in the national, regional, and international business world with the addition of quality services and providing and exercising their role as representative in front of public institutions, yet in a public-private format. The role of chambers of commerce in a world that has been irrevocably changed, and chambers associations will champion a strategic program designed to help chambers chart a proper course for a new era of business, a digital age, and blue and green economies. Our 4.0 chamber model to empower and mobilize the regional organizations of chambers community to adopt a smarter approach to provide better services that deliver added value to their members. A tool for assesses of each chamber's digital capabilities and readiness, and also will test different chambers' ability to use technology to meet the changing business needs. Digitalization, e-commerce, innovation, R&D, and supply chain optimization are the main growth levers that must be activated in order to better negotiate the sharp turn that the international trade is taking. Automation and data intelligence change will provide vital if businesses are to modernize and boost the efficiency and efficacy of their supply chains. Chambers' new generation, Chambers 4.0, transforming disruption into opportunity for global business. Chambers of commerce around the world are in a uniquely advantageous position to take the lead as the world navigates the new normal. Integration, a purpose of social responsibility, becomes an imperative of sustainable performance. Environmental, social, and governance principles would be the key drivers for business in the coming years. By working together, sharing knowledge, and using combined experiences, chambers of commerce and business representative organizations and federations can achieve common goals, improve competitiveness, and advance companies by pursuing future strategies that pave the way for sustainable growth. Such partnership is augmented by over 100 projects, EU-funded projects that we are implementing worth over 300 million euros, augmented by a host of programs and activities by various partners in development worldwide. It's time for all of us to walk the talk and embark on concrete actions for a better Mediterranean and global economy. And let me close quoting, "We did not inherit the world from our ancestors, but we're borrowing it from our children. So let's work together hand in hand in a co-opetition manner to give it back to them better than the way we received it." On behalf of all regional business organizations, thank you all.
Thank you, Ala. También, es decir,
On the occasion of the 40th anniversary, we also have two announcements. One announcement is already approved and we're working on this and we hope that it will be implemented or open soon. That's the creation here in Barcelona in the Consulate of the Sea of the Arbitrary Tribunal of the Mediterranean. This is a very important instrument to drive investments and the business fabric, not just among businesses in the Mediterranean, but among Mediterranean businesses and the world, and try to foster the legal framework which is clear. We have signed this. We were going to sign the agreement here with the Dean of the University of Alexandria, but we signed it virtually. It's an agreement between ASCAME, the University of Alexandria in Egypt, and the Chamber of Commerce of Egypt to create a center of studies for the blue economy, which is one of the pillars of the future of the Mediterranean Sea, because we don't see a future if we do not commit to saving our sea. So now we're going to sign two agreements that we hope will translate into future initiatives. One first agreement is between ASCAME and the consortium of Zona Franca to foster our cooperation via the DeFactory, which is the building that was mentioned, the new models of Zona Franca of the new economy, to foster that across the whole Mediterranean with the collaboration of the Zona Franca Barcelona. We believe that DeFactory is a model to be implemented and to be followed. And the second agreement will be with EIC Forum from the Adriatic Sea, to promote tourism, and I can announce as well that soon we will have the forum of the tourism in Mediterranean, and we'll hear an announcement about driving an agency for Mediterranean tourism with one purpose: is to set a framework for Mediterranean tourism. So without further ado, we will try to sign these agreements. We're going to set up the tables, and I call on the president of ASCAME, the special delegate of the Zona Franca, Pera Navarro, to sign this first agreement.
Okay. And now, Mr. José Tomás, President of Adriatic Forum of Chambers.
And now, before I call on the speakers of the next session, we'll have the official photo, but I'd like to just go through the programme for the next 3 days. Upcoming will be the Mediterranean Tourism Forum, the New Africa Business Development Forum, the Mediterranean Halal Industry Forum, the Energy Security in the Mediterranean Conference, and the Food Security in the Mediterranean Conference. Tomorrow, we'll have the Digital Summit, so we'll have the Digital and Innovation Forum. The second will be Barcelona Capture Talent. We'll have the Mediterranean Space Forum. Also, cybersecurity, mobile industry, and blockchain. And a very important initiative, we're going to have the Mediterranean Innovation Hub, where startups and young people with ideas are going to present their initiatives, their companies, but they'll also be looking for funding. And the third day, we'll have the Youth Summit. This is a huge and clear commitment that ASCAME have. We'll have the Mediterranean Entrepreneurship and Startup meeting. We'll have the Creative Economy Conference, the second one, the Sports Industry Conference, and the Mediterranean Economy and Talent Conference, along with many other activities. So without further ado, I would like to call on Perra Navarro, Jose Manias, Senor Marin, Mr. Romero, and the representation of ASCAME to come up for the official photo.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Let's have a coffee break now, and we will begin after that with the tourism forum.